On this episode of the Comic Blast podcast, we talk all about the sadness revolving the world of movies. A ton of stuff is getting delayed and postponed. We also talk a little bit about some rumors for the new Spider-Man movie coming out next year, and maybe get into some gaming stuff. All of that coming up next.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out? Consider this mercy. I am inevitable.
What's up, and welcome to the Comic Blast podcast. My name is Keenan, one of the hosts of the Comic Blast podcast. Joining me, as always, is Grayson, who is sick this week, but kind of toughing it out. And
what's up?
Yeah,
I'm dying.
You're dying a little bit. You don't have corona. You're good.
Yeah, I don't. Okay, I don't have. Yeah, just to be clear, I don't have coronavirus. But like, this is a thing that happens. Like, at least I'm pretty sure I don't. Because I like checked for a fever and everything. But like around this time of year, like it's usually around middle of March, like that transitioning to springtime, and then also like October, November-ish is like whenever it's those like hardcore like seasonal transitions, I always get sick just like this, and so it's just like a really bad like cold allergy thing. So
it's a tough time for people who have allergies.
Yeah, because I'm like. I mean, I'm not going out because in the very small case that I am carrying the coronavirus, I'm not going to expose people. But there's been a lot going on since the last episode.
It's crazy times. It's crazy how so much has changed in a short amount of time. But we're gonna get into all of that. I mean, so much is changing within the movie industry right now that we're gonna talk about on this episode, and just a lot of drama and sadness. Before we jump into all of that, I just want to shout out our social media pages. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at comicblast_. And if you want to support the show financially, you can find us on Patreon. You can just search Comic Blast or click the link in our description from wherever you're listening. And you can support us financially if you'd like to. I know these are tough times, and maybe I don't blame anyone for not having money to kind of spend on extra things right now. But we appreciate anyone who supported us. Speaking of our supporters, we want to shout out Jess, who was a sponsor of the episode, and then our two other patrons, Joseph and Samantha. You guys, of course, are the best. We enjoy chatting with you, and
they're the Fellowship of the Ring, the Fellowship of the Comic Blast.
But yeah, shout out to you guys. I appreciate it. I actually was before like the whole outbreak started,
the pandemic,
before the pandemic and state of emergency started, I was planning on doing like bringing back some of my Blu-ray hunting videos. And I mean, I can't. We were talking about how much has changed. I think back to a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, I was in Disney World, not even concerned one bit.
I mean, my school's spring break was last week, and it was like there was like things going on, but I was like, it's like even when this thing first started, I was like, like it's not that, because it never usually is. And then it just was like boom. Like I remember I heard something about like Clemson's a lot of nearby universities as well as that one were like delayed, or like their spring breaks were extended. And then I hear that mine was extended as well, and I'm like, okay. And so now they're like telling everybody to like they've shut down all of the classes. They're now like obviously all online, which is like a thing all around the country. So it's not like a exclusive thing. But it was like last week, like it was like everything was normal, and now it's like, holy crap, like Keenan was in Disney World. I had people that were in Universal and some people that were on a cruise that I know, and they're like, I'm like, they're like contaminated. Like people don't want them to come back to campus because they're like, they were out traveling so much. And so
it's insane. In a matter of,
it was in like 2 days.
Yeah, like about 2 days. Cause I remember, cause like it was kind of like going around a little bit. And even my parents were like a little bit concerned about me going to Disney, but I was just like, it's fine. I'm like, I was just very ignorant about the whole thing, and I was just like, okay, it's just like the flu, whatever. I was like, I'll be fine. And then it got serious out of nowhere, because like I had like about 4 movie tickets lined up that I was gonna see.
That dude, I bought. That's the thing. I bought Movie Pass.
Yeah.
Or not Movie Pass, Regal Unlimited, like last week, and we went to go see Invisible Man. I was gonna go see Onward.
Yep, we had plans to.
Yeah, we had plans to see like all these movies, and especially with all of the upcoming ones. Like, I was even gonna see like Mulan. There was A Quiet Place Part 2. Black Widow is in May.
Yep.
Like all these movies, and they're all like pushed back now, which is the majority of the episode that we're like gonna be talking about.
Yeah, it's crazy. We had plans to see Onward, which I was really looking forward to, and even though the movie theaters weren't shut down at the time, I was like,
are they shut down now?
They are now. Yeah, Regal's shut down.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. So I was about to say, I was like, oh, well, the movie theaters are like kind of dead now, which is kind of nice. Like, you don't really have to worry about it too much.
Yeah.
Because I saw Invisible Man a second time, and then it was like pretty dead.
Yeah.
But guess I can't do that now.
Yeah. So you and I both have Regal Unlimited. They put a pause on that so that we're not going to get charged. And
oh, really?
Yeah. Wow. To all the people who have AMC A-list, they also are not getting charged. While they shut down, temporarily.
Right.
And it seems like they're kind of going overboard, but at the same time, like, I'd rather them go overboard now and kind of just contain this so everyone has a peace of mind than for us to not do anything at all, and then it gets to a point where it's just uncontrollable.
The biggest thing for me is I'm not worried about getting it. I'm worried about
other people.
Exactly. Possibly having it. And I know that's something that you're very worried about with like your family.
Yep.
I have a family member, like my pop, he has some lung problems, and like if he got it, like it could be pretty detrimental to him. So I just don't want to be part of the problem.
Exactly.
And like, I'm not afraid to go outside or anything. But it's just like, oh, like what if I ended up like having it and giving it to someone, or like passing it on that like actually could be affected by it. So it's a really strange situation, but like it's like freed up a lot of time for us. At the same time, like you can get a lot done with all of this like newly found time, but at the same time, like this semester I've become so dependent on like going to the movies with people and like going to school and playing games and all of this stuff, and so now you can't really do that because you don't want to escalate the situation.
We even have time to record a second episode later in the week, which we should tease. But yeah,
definitely
it's interesting times. We are a little bit concerned about our plans for Star Wars Celebration, I'd say, because now
so if
the government is saying it could be something that lasts into July and August.
Dude, that's like the entire summer.
I know the entire year.
I know we shouldn't whine because people in history have gone through so much worse.
Yeah.
But like, it's still like, I mean, you can't ignore it. Like, it still sucks. Mm-hmm. And so I know, like, I was gonna go to South Carolina Comic-Con, which was in
it's like 2 or 3 weeks, right?
Yeah, a little over a week.
Yeah.
It got pushed back to July now.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, a lot of my school's events, obviously there's all this stuff going on with sports, which I know you're pretty upset about. And honestly, I am as well for the people that I know that I'm close with that are athletes. A lot of like the NCAA, like they've, suspended their seasons and stuff. And people are like mad, especially the seniors are mad because they don't have that eligibility anymore, which thankfully there's apparently like some chance that they may be able to come back for another year of eligibility.
Yeah.
Which is really good. And I just know, like, even though I don't play sports, like, I know I would be devastated with that. And it's like, it has affected pretty much every type of, like...
The world is on pause, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we're on a full-on hiatus. I mean, has your work shut down?
Not yet. There's been a lot of changes made, and it may get to that point. We're at the point where we're probably going to end up waiting for the government to step in and be like, we need to close down restaurants. But we're pretty much at, like, we're at a point where it's strictly like takeout, and nobody's kind of like sitting in drinking coffee and stuff like that. Because now like the new like CDC and government regulation or recommendations are like don't be any more than a group of 10. And you think about like restaurants and coffee shops, it's usually very crowded. I know Starbucks and Chick-fil-A are now only drive-through.
Yeah, they're only like pickups or drive-through.
Yeah,
I know there's a coffee shop in Easley that they only take online orders and pickups and stuff. So my work hasn't shut down yet. And if people don't know, I work at a golf course. Keaton works at a coffee shop. I work at a golf course. I don't know if people have ever. They probably picked up on your career, but they haven't picked up on my career, just our job. But they haven't shut it down yet. But there's a good chance they will, and
it's scary.
I'm kind of hoping they will because it's like there's a lot of elderly people at the course, and I'm like he could seriously be affected by that. So I don't know, but yeah,
it's crazy. The world's just kind of like temporarily on pause. I think we got word. We can go through like the list of all the films that are getting delayed right now.
Yeah,
it's pretty devastating. Because the whole movie industry is taking a big hit right now.
Movie, TV production, the whole 9 yards.
Exactly. Things are going to be...
Even video games, which, I mean, the whole, like, E3 was delayed. Like, no, it was canceled. It was, which is never, like, hasn't happened in, possibly in its entirety.
Yeah, I don't think it ever has.
It's been forever since there's been a break in E3, which is, like, a huge deal. But yeah, I mean, everything has been affected, but there was a lot of movies that have been affected by it.
I think a couple weeks ago, it might have been when I was in Disney or like right after I got back from Disney, there was the announcement of James Bond being pushed back. I didn't think it had anything to do with the virus. Like, I did not think about it one bit.
Oh, really?
I was like, wow, I wonder what's going on with that, you know?
Yeah.
And then the next kind of like big domino to fall that really like got my attention was A Quiet Place 2.
Yeah, which we don't know when that's coming out now.
It's like it was
TBD.
So soon. Like it was supposed to be coming out this week.
Yeah.
I already had like my ticket planned and everything, so I was really looking forward to that. And when that happened, I think that was around the same time. I think the NBA got canceled the night before A Quiet Place 2 got announced.
That was the big one.
When the NBA got canceled, I texted you and I was like, I'm not going to the movies anymore. I'm like,
yeah.
It's sad that it took sports being canceled for me to be like, oh, okay. I'm like, you got my attention.
I saw people are like, once Disney closes, like that's when I know it'll be real. And I'm like, well, Disney World isn't closed for some reason, but Disneyland is.
Well, now Disney World is.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
okay,
the 15th was their last day.
Yep. Well, then there you go.
It's insane, but
it literally feels like a sorry to cut you off. No. It literally feels like one of those like movies that like people that there's a lot of people that have been referencing like, hey, watch these like apocalyptic movies like or shows like The Walking Dead and 28 Days Later, and I'm like, listen, those are cool, but that's probably not the stuff you should be watching right now. I'm like, watch some like happier stuff.
Go on Netflix. Everything that's trending are all like apocalyptic movies, virus outbreak movies.
I was like, what the heck? I'm like, are people trying to like train, like learn, like study up?
Maybe.
You put out a good list though of movies on Netflix to watch during the quarantine.
Yeah.
And some of those like I have not seen. I didn't even know were on Netflix. Like I actually kind of forgot that I've never seen Snowpiercer.
Snowpiercer, man, it's a great movie. It is kind of like a post-apocalyptic movie.
It is. That is the closest one to it. Be like, but it's not like a virus. It's more so like because of like the world, like the climate. It's kind of like what is that movie with Jake Gyllenhaal that I actually really like? It was like when he was younger. It was like I don't remember. It was one like the entire Earth like essentially gets like frozen over.
Oh yeah, The Day After Tomorrow.
Yeah, I actually really like that.
Yeah, movie. That movie's awesome.
Yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal, man.
Great.
But yeah. Anyway, continue on what you were saying. I apologize.
I think I was just going through the list of movies. Yeah. So A Quiet Place 2. Gone. Mulan was scheduled to come out this month. I was really looking forward to that. That's gone.
Yeah.
Peter Rabbit 2 gone. Didn't really care about that, but with Easter kind of coming up, you know.
Oh man, yeah.
One of those things. Fast and the Furious 9 delayed for a year.
An entire year? I thought it was like a couple months.
No, it's a whole year. So
that's insane.
Yeah, I think it's like actually like 10 months.
Oh, dude. Oh man, I already know. I forgot one that you're about to say.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that one. The Lovebirds, which is a movie I kind of was like a little bit interested in. It's like
it looked like a, yeah. It's like it doesn't look like it's gonna be a good movie, but it looks like it'll be like funny.
Yeah. Just announced today officially, even though everybody kind of knew it was going to happen, is Black Widow. That's officially.
It was delayed?
Yeah, today it was officially announced it was going to be delayed.
To when?
We don't know. We don't know when any of these are going to be, other than Fast and Furious 9 was the only one that actually
and
scheduled
James Bond, which got like delayed till November.
Yep. And then last but not least, which is a thing that I wanted to get into, was this cursed movie, The New Mutants.
Dude, just burn it, let it die.
Here's what I got for the New Mutants, which is surprisingly a movie that I was once excited for.
You're gonna go through the timeline, and like I've listened to this before, and it's like insane.
Yeah.
How far away this movie has been. Like, just go through it.
Yep. All right. So, New Mutants was announced. Official release date was scheduled to be April 13th, 2018.
Okay.
October 2017, the first trailer dropped.
Yep.
That's around the time. I think it was like the same day, actually, or the same weekend that The Last Jedi's trailer dropped.
Yeah.
October 2019, or after the trailer dropped, really shortly after the trailer dropped, the date was pushed back to October 2019. That's when it was scheduled to be released.
Okay.
Then again, the release date was pushed back to April 3rd, 2020. Second trailer dropped for it January 26, 2020. And now the film is officially postponed indefinitely. This movie is cursed, I'm telling you.
Dude, it just blows my mind that the first trailer came out in 2017.
Before The Last Jedi. Now, keep in mind,
it's lived through 3 Star Wars movies.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say.
It lived through before The Last Jedi.
Yep.
When The Last Jedi came out, then Solo, then the next year, and then all the way through Rise of Skywalker, and now beyond that. Think about it this way. That trailer came out before the Clone Wars was announced that was coming back.
Yeah, just
that, which was like July of 2018.
That time period, they have filmed and shot 2 seasons of The Mandalorian and released one of those seasons in that time period.
The CW shows they've Daredevil and Punisher was still a thing back then.
And that feels like an eternity ago as it is.
Dude, I know. One of my friends, by the way, is watching Daredevil for the first time, and I'm like, yeah, I need to rewatch that show during this crisis going on right now. This is my time to catch up on games and movies.
It really is. That's the silver lining.
Pretty much, I'm just gonna start FaceTiming people if I miss them, and then just play games. Dude, what is keeping me alive right now is that this Friday Doom Eternal comes out and The Weeknd comes out with a new album. I'm counting down the days until that happens.
Yeah, those are the things that can't be taken away from us.
No. Watch them delay it. That'd be so... Oh, God. I can start Batman Beyond. Oh, man. Listen, there's a lot of positives to this, but there's also negatives. It's Mutants.
I'm constantly looking at my Blu-ray shelf, and I'm like, what haven't I watched yet?
Dude, I need to watch that movie High Life you gave me.
Yeah, I would skip that one. I'm sorry for ever giving that to you.
Dude, it's just been sitting there buried underneath all of the other Blu-rays you've given me.
Yeah.
I'm like a charity to Keenan. He gives me so much stuff. I'm gonna have to have a warehouse full of just Keenan's Blu-rays and things.
I just watch stuff and then give it to you.
Pretty much. He's like, yeah, here you go. Yeah. Or you'll get a second copy.
Yeah.
And then you'll just give them away. But yeah, I didn't mention it last week. I think it was last week when you gave me Sabak.
Yeah, you said it on the episode.
Did I?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I still have not been able to I wanted to play it with people during all of this because I'm like, well, at least we can buddy up and just chill out and play that.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
No. So New Mutants, so yeah, I mean it's I'm actually a little bit disappointed. Not really disappointed. I feel bad for the people that were involved in this film.
Yeah.
The director actually came out and said that reshoots never happened for it. Which is
Really?
Because I thought that was the reason that it got delayed initially.
I think it got delayed because of all the Disney Fox stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there were rumors of reshoots, and then I think because of the Disney Fox thing, it never happened, is what he said. Yeah, so it's like this.
The thing is, like, I'm excited for this. I was like excited for this movie.
Once upon a time, we were.
Yeah, I mean, I still like mildly am. Like at this point, I just want it to come out so I can watch it.
Yeah, there's like rumors of like they should put it on Hulu or whatever the case may be. I'm kind of, I don't know. We're starting to see a trend where they're throwing movies on video on demand already.
Yeah, that's been a big thing this week, is that like Universal is putting a lot of their movies on demand. Birds of Prey, I believe, is slated to come out this Friday on demand.
I'm kind of fine with movies that already had like at least a little bit of a theatrical run.
Right, yeah.
People were saying, you know, I'll use the voice of public opinion here, but everybody was saying they should put Black Widow on Disney Plus, and I'm strongly against that idea because I feel like Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson, and the team involved with that film deserves that. Because, I mean, Scarlett Johansson's been waiting since, 2010 for her chance to have her standalone movie and have this theatrical run.
They would lose a lot of money by putting it on Disney Plus.
Absolutely, they would.
Like, I just don't know. Like, I'd rather just wait to see it in theater. Like, I am just craving to go into a movie theater on that Thursday night release again and watch a Marvel movie and then wait for that post-credit scene. Like, that's like, I mean, it is it's pretty much like a tradition or like a ritual for like this generation.
Yeah.
It's like when a Marvel movie comes out, like when it gets around to this time of year, like I still think about like the hype leading up to Endgame last year, and then Infinity War before that, like, and then Civil War like 2 years before that. Like it was just like these huge events, and I'm like, obviously Black Widow is a standalone movie, but like it still feels really huge because of how long we've been waiting for that movie.
I think this post-credit scene for the film is going to be directly related to her sister. I think we're going to get like her sister as like
a lead.
The new quote-unquote Black Widow, her own character, but yeah.
That's what I hope.
I'd love to see that.
Obviously if it's set before, the snap and all of that stuff. Like one thing I will say with Marvel right now is, and I'm sure the post-credit scene will deal with that, I'm ready to get to this point where Marvel is past like the in-game stuff.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, it feels like we're still stuck in like the main Avengers.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's like, okay, we've, Far From Home like directly dealt with the aftermath, but it was still after it, which was good. Mm-hmm. But, Captain Marvel was beforehand, and like all of these movies, and I'm going to assume that Eternals is after Endgame and all of that stuff. But like, I'm just ready to like, let's get on to the new phase. Let's see the world after, Tony Stark's death and Captain America being gone, which is why I'm really excited for like Falcon and Winter Soldier and Loki and all of those shows, is because I'm like, all right, finally we can like start moving forward with these other characters that deserve their time in the spotlight, but not stuck with the like, big characters.
Yeah, 100% agree. I mean,
which kind of leads into like, if you want to go ahead and like talking about the Spider-Man 3 rumors.
I want to like real quickly. I just want to say this is sad, but it's also maybe a good time for us to kind of take a break in terms of MCU movies. But
yeah,
it's because of the delay of this film, we're probably going to end up going a year without a single MCU movie release, which is weird to say because we're so.
You think Eternals is going to get delayed?
I don't think Eternals will. I just think Black Widow it's probably trending towards July or August.
Okay, I get what you're saying. Like a year after Far From Home.
Exactly. So, which is
I thought you were saying like a year from now, and I'm like,
no. I think it's very different because we're accustomed to getting those 3 releases lately.
Oh yeah.
Even this year there was only 2, and it's everybody's like only 2 MCU movies, like that sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah. Also, we can get into like those are the movies that were done and ready to go into theaters that got delayed, but there's still
so
a
many
ton of
more
stuff. Like
I was about to say, because of like the lack of Marvel stuff, I've kind of been like this past week I rewatched the entire Dark Knight trilogy, which I haven't done in a long time, and so now I'm in this like huge Batman phase.
That was
so
me.
like I downloaded Arkham Knight and I like started taking photos because I think you did the exact same thing.
Exactly.
But like I put on like the Dark Knight suit and put on like the tumbler and just started driving around, and it's just like I am like in this huge DC phase, I guess now.
Yeah.
But then that kind of transitions to the Batman that also is like halting production.
Yeah, they kind of held off for a little bit, but now it's at the point where they're delaying it. They say at least 2 weeks, but I think it's going to go longer than that.
Yeah.
The same thing with like all the MCU shows that were in production, all
Falcon
delayed.
and Winter Soldier. Yeah.
Yeah. Thankfully, they finished up The Mandalorian season 2.
I hope they. God, I hope they finish Falcon and Winter Soldier like soon, because I don't want that show to get delayed.
Yeah.
I'm so ready for that show. Thank God that The Mandalorian is finished though.
Yeah, they just have to do post-production, which that also kind of got delayed too, because they don't want people to be around each other. And you're talking about California, which is one of the states that has the highest number of confirmed cases.
Yeah.
So it's tough, but those are just a few of the things that also got delayed. I saw that the Witcher season 2 is delayed, which I never watched season 1, but
I haven't either.
It's pop culture related.
Yeah, it's pretty big right now.
Yeah, it's pretty sad because you're looking at, because production being delayed. I'm not sure about that.
I think it was. I think I saw that Stranger Things season 4 was pushed back as well.
Yeah, that's disappointing actually. Yeah, I mean, you're looking at what's going to be weird is that when this all does kind of like end, you're going to have studios fighting for release spots, like dates within the calendar to release their movies.
Oh, yeah.
So that way you don't get every movie coming out on the same weekend. So that
has to be a struggle, like just having to decide that, like when's the best time.
It's tough. I think that I would not be surprised if some of these movies that I listed, they kind of take the Fast and the Furious approach and wait months down the road, just so that way there's some distance between. Like I don't see a movie like Lovebirds wanting to go up against Black Widow. Or
definitely not.
Yeah,
that almost seems like a January movie release or something like that.
And then you got like Mulan, which is a Disney property. You don't want that going against competing with your own property,
right?
And Black Widow. So it's going to be interesting to see how they decide to space this out.
Disney continually, like, they pretty much always have a movie in theaters at one point. Like it's like almost like they like layer them.
Yeah.
Or not layer them, but they like essentially like cycle them. So obviously it was like Rise of Skywalker, and then that transition into this year, and then we got like Onward, and then that was going to go into Mulan, and then that was going to go to Black Widow, and like all of these different movies, and now it's like it's a big shift forward. I think James Bond, like No Time to Die, probably like they saw what was coming and they were like, yeah, let's do November, which seems like I feel like, I don't know why in the past, like all of the James Bond movies have come out in November, so I thought like April was like a weird choice when that was like the release date. I was like, oh, okay. So like November seems fitting, and they'll probably benefit a lot from that time period.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if Eternals will get pushed back so that they can adjust, like for Black Widow, like if they'll just push everything, or if they're just gonna like, I mean, they're not gonna put like two MCU movies like that close together. No. Then again, they've done Captain Marvel, which came out in March, and then they did Endgame, which came out like 2 months later. I think
that was just like a necessary thing because they had to squeeze that in before.
That is true, yeah.
Endgame came out. I think like I could also see December being a pretty solid release date for one of those MCU films. Maybe they move up Black Widow into the November, and then December they put in Eternals, because they don't have a Star Wars movie coming out, this year. So
yeah, Star Wars is pretty much exclusively Disney Plus stuff.
Yeah.
That latter half of the year is, because of all this, is going to be jam packed, with all of the Disney Plus stuff, and then the movie's getting pushed back. Yeah, I don't have anything more to say about it. It's just like total derail of everything.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of talked about it on Twitter about how they're going to handle sports, and I didn't think about even the movies, but if they're delaying all of the sports right now, you can't just decide to play them all at the same time, because you're going to you're going to run into where the NBA and NFL and NCAA are all taking place at the same time, and
Yep.
that becomes a mess. And I guess the same could be said for movies and TV shows too. I mean, everybody, as soon as this is all over, everybody's going to be rushing to like release their film. It should be interesting. I mean, it's going to have an effect on Hollywood for sure, for certain.
So let me ask you this, since you are affected by more of these things than I am, what are you more sad about, sports or the movies getting canceled / pushback?
I think for me it's sports.
I figured.
I don't know. Like I just need some sort of something competitive. I watched golf the other day.
Oh no!
Because it was something competitive to watch. But
yeah,
the thing about sport, it's like, put it this way: imagine you were watching Endgame for the first time,
right? Okay,
and then the theater cuts it off halfway through, and they were like, "We're gonna show you the other half. We don't know when yet. It may be a few months down the road."
Yeah. Yep.
So that's what happened with sports. So if like the NBA hadn't started yet and then they delayed it, I'd be like, okay, whatever. But I got so invested throughout the season, and now they just stopped this in the middle of the season, and they're like,
are they going to continue it, or are they just done?
Right now they're saying that it's on a hiatus. If this extends until like August, I think they'll end up canceling it because they can't compete with the NFL. The NFL will be starting around that time, and it just
that'll dominate it.
It would make like sense to. Plus, I mean, September, October is when they're getting ready to start their next season, so you don't want to merge those two together. There needs to be some sort of space in between. So I saw some people tweeting, they're like, every team should pick one player from their team and have them do a NBA 2K tournament to figure out who wins the NBA championship.
That would be funny.
Yeah, and we actually have a guy on on the Celtics who's my favorite team, who's like, he's a gamer. Like when he was in college, he wanted to compete professionally, but the NCAA wouldn't let him because he wouldn't be able to earn money. It would be against NCAA rules. But he's like a big Halo 3 guy, and we would actually if that were to happen, which is like never going to happen in a million years, that would be good for us. It'd be something fun to watch. But now all the NBA players are like streaming Warzone now and Fortnite and stuff.
Oh really?
Yeah, so it's like
that's actually so funny.
Yeah, they're actually, there's some, you'd be surprised, there's some NBA players who are like good.
I mean, I remember like a lot of NBA players. I mean, honestly, a lot of NBA and NFL players are like huge gamers. Honestly, most of those people who play sports are really like big into gaming.
Yeah.
And Kobe Bryant, rest in peace. He was like a huge Call of Duty guy.
Yeah.
Call of Duty and Halo, I think. I remember when he was in the trailer for like Black Ops. And it was like such a cool, like, oh, okay, Kobe Bryant. Then he came back for Black Ops 2, which there was this trailer that had like Robert Downey Jr. and like all of these different people
Worlds
in this
colliding.
trailer. Oh yeah, I mean it was like this like amalgamation of everything. Like honestly, I need to like get into esports or something and start watching that. But like the thing is, just like with all of those games, is like none of the like lately. I guess I've been on a huge single player kick, which I guess here's my time to replay Spider-Man PS4.
Yes, sir.
But like I've been on a huge single player kick lately, and so I haven't played a lot of multiplayer games lately. But that is really cool that they're like, well, season's over or season's suspended, so like
let's Twitch
guess
stream.
I'm just gonna let's stream on Twitch. That's great.
It's so funny. Speaking of,
do they party up?
I have no idea. I know I've seen every like NBA player, like they have a setup now, and they're like, Warzone is like the new thing because it's free to play game and it's Call of Duty related, so everybody's doing it. So everybody's streaming that. I didn't mention this on the last episode, and I know you wouldn't really know much about this, but speaking of worlds colliding, I guess this is kind of relevant to like pop culture. My favorite football player, who's on my favorite team, Tom Brady. He announced that he's starting a production company with Joe and Anthony Russo, which I think is
saw
just
that.
the coolest thing. because
That's
directors of Endgame.
pretty
I was
sweet.
so confused because I kept on seeing him like in pictures with them, and I'm like, man, he must really love Avengers. And they like sent him Avengers to play in his home theater or whatever, like when
What the
it
heck?
came out. And I was like, wow, they have a cool relationship, So yeah, that's
What
just
kind of like what kind of stuff they're gonna make?
I have no idea. I mean, I wouldn't
What is
doubt
the-
if it's like commercials and stuff,
Oh, okay.
because that like
Yeah.
Russos are constantly like shooting commercials.
Are they?
Yeah, they're like big commercial people.
I did not know that. Oh.
Yeah.
Was there a name for the production company?
It's like
Oh,
199.
yeah, 199 Productions.
Yeah. So,
Interesting.
Yeah, it's just another example of worlds colliding.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. Maybe they'll make something cool. I don't know. I want to see the Russo brothers do more stuff. So, just Tom Brady is just kind of there. Like I wonder just like what his. I don't know if it was him to be like. I mean, it could have been just a financial decision to be like, hey, invest in something else to make more money, or
Yeah.
if he was like actually passionate about like a production studio.
I think it was a little bit of both. I think he's looking for life after football. What
He's
gonna
done,
be.
right?
Well, he's done with the Patriots. He's gonna probably play another 2 years
Okay.
somewhere else. But yeah, I think he's looking, for business opportunities. But he also he kind of started his own mini film production. He was doing like this
Right.
sports documentary series for Facebook. They bought his series or whatever, and I think he just is expanding. It's almost like Kobe Bryant. I mean, he started a production
Yeah.
company. And now
Yeah.
LeBron has one, and I see Braun on like his little Braun logo on horror movies now. It's so weird to see.
What the heck? That's so bizarre.
Yeah. So, but LeBron is like definitely in it. He's in LA
yeah.
and he's serious about his production company. He's got
Yeah,
Space
a lot
Jam
of
2
those-
going on and stuff.
A lot of those guys are very like multifaceted in their like production and just business opportunities, which is very
have to be.
admirable.
You have to be like at some point in time, but
Yeah.
yeah, let's get into the new rumor that's going around for Spider-Man. What did you say the rumor name is going to be?
So you and I had two different rumors.
Yeah.
I'll start with mine. So the rumor is like, and this is, I don't think this title is true, but I think the second half of this could be true. So the rumor title is Spider-Man Home Run.
Okay.
Not sure why. I don't know if he's playing baseball or what, but which I have read comics where he has played baseball before, and it's really weird. And then the villains are going to be Scorpion and Kraven.
Okay.
That's essentially the rumors for it. I mean, like Tom Holland was saying at the Onward premiere that like he has had like the meeting to like know about, kind of essentially briefing what the entire movie is going to be about.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the Marvel snipers were like just watching him.
Yeah, I see
they had
red
just
dots all over
drones.
him.
Yeah. So yeah, and then you had another rumor that I was unaware about.
Yeah, a new rumor going around. I think it's from like MCU Cosmic, which are it's like hit and miss, I think.
Yeah,
I'm
I'd say
just
half
being-
reliable.
Yeah, I would just say half reliable. I mean, like it's not one of those websites where you're like, oh, that's like BS every time. But
Right.
they've also had some like pretty solid scoops, so not sure what to believe. But when it comes to Spider-Man, there is a rumor that there will be a very famous New York lawyer involved in the film, which leads us to believe that this may be Matt Murdock's introduction to the MCU.
Please.
Which would be insane. I don't even need Daredevil. I'm like, if I saw Charlie Cox walk into a courtroom.
He's just, I think people do not give him enough credit
No.
as like Matt Murdock or Daredevil. Like I was talking to people, or like I've seen people on Twitter talk about Daredevil, and they're like, oh, obviously Vincent D'Onofrio is amazing as Kingpin.
Yeah.
And John Bernthal is great as the Punisher. But I'm like, dude, Charlie Cox was like, okay, when that was announced years ago, and man, it seems like so long
Yeah.
ago when that show was like in production and like the hype around it, which I really missed that time.
Yeah.
Like Charlie Cox was like, that's not who I see as Matt Murdock.
Right.
But he goes all out in that role, and like, I really hope they, like, I think we've said it before, we have, if they can retain him and John Bernthal as Punisher, to keep in the films, like I would be so happy. And it doesn't even have to be in the same continuity of the shows, but just like having them stay as those characters, which I know they love. I know that they both adore those characters.
Yep.
I know Charlie Cox is big friends with Tom Hiddleston. And I remember like for Halloween last year, they swapped characters. So like awesome. Tom Hiddleston was Daredevil and then like he was Loki. So clearly they love those roles. And if he came in and like, I mean, it would be just still also so cool to see Daredevil team up with Spider-Man. Like I don't know. Am I like bold? And maybe I'm wrong in assuming this, but like if Matt Murdock or Daredevil came in the MCU, would he be your favorite MCU character?
If he continued to, I'm gonna say no, just because I don't think that if they introduce him into the films, I don't think they're gonna carry over that same tone.
Right.
And I think that you have to, if you're gonna keep that Daredevil, if you're gonna keep Charlie Cox, I want to see that same tone, like, which means it'd have to be probably in a TV series on Hulu or whatever they do. Would you be surprised if Disney like comes out with another streaming service for all of their like Fox related properties and like R-rated stuff?
No. Well, no, I wouldn't. However, I don't think it'd be an entirely different platform. I think it would be like an extension of Disney Plus, or maybe like you had to pay an extra $3 a month or something like that. Because I think we've talked about this before a while back, but like if they did that, so for example, if they put, the Predator movies and the Alien movies and like Deadpool and X-Men and all of that stuff, which are like, which aren't as friendly as the MCU properties,
right?
They would definitely want to make sure that like it's distinct and separate from the main Disney Plus line in the case that like some kid gets on their parent's iPad or logs in and like sees just something like horrible. So like I could just like, I don't know what they would call it. Like
I don't either.
Disney
X, After Hours.
Oh God. That just sounds so wrong.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's just like, it's still hard for me to fathom like Disney having R-rated properties.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Like it's just, and I don't know if they're ever gonna like get there. Which they said that they are with like Deadpool 3 will be rated R.
Oh, have they confirmed that?
There was a lot, at least from what I remember, that there was like it was pretty much confirmed that it would be rated R. That
just like confirms to me that there's going to be like little to no connection in the MCU. I think they're pretty firm on this. I mean, there's a new like change of power with CEO, like Bob Iger was very adamant, like these things don't go together, like but I have no idea what the future holds in terms of that. I just know that I could still see Daredevil.
I could still see. I think I could see the same Daredevil with it being PG-13. It would still be pretty dark, but obviously not as much swearing and not as much blood. But I still think like the choreography and the dark tone of it could be retained.
It's tough. I think about that. One of the final scenes of season 3, where he's just beating Kingpin basically to death.
Yep.
And if you tone that down even just halfway, it kind of takes away from the feeling that you kind of got with that.
Well, see, I think of something like The Dark Knight, which is like it's PG-13 and it's still really dark. Like I think they could achieve that with Daredevil, where it's like
that's a fair point, I guess.
Like you think of the Joker like cutting open that guy's mouth and just killing him. Like they don't show anything directly, but the implication is still really dark.
Yeah.
And they even do that in Daredevil sometimes. Like I remember the part where, there's a part where he like like in season 1, Kingpin like destroys this guy's head like on a door. He just slams the door like on his head.
Yeah, that was
great. Like even his origin. I mean, that was like the first show that I was like, okay, this is really dark. Yeah, that was great. Keenan said. And then like also when him and his mom cut up his dad, like they don't show it, but they imply it, and you're like, okay, this is still
hear it.
Pretty dark.
Like when he slams his head, you hear every every gushing sound.
True. Yeah, I still think they could pull it off, though.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, like, they would have to. I don't know what else they would do with the show. It feels like...
But if they did, like... And they're doing Moon Knight, and that show's gonna be, like... It's gonna have to be pretty dark, right? Like...
I have no idea.
Moon Knight is a dark character. Like, I mean, he beats people to, like, a bloody pulp.
Blade. I mean, Blade is, like, as bloody as it can get.
Like, they're getting there. And if Deadpool's gonna be, like... I think they can get it, like... It's not going to be, like... Joker hard R, like where it's like just so messed up, or like even like I'm thinking of movies that are just such like high levels of rated R.
Yeah,
like because even like I think the Fox rated R movies, except for like Deadpool, like even Logan, you take out the swearing, like I think they have a PG-13 version, or at least I know they do for like that Once Upon a Time in Deadpool.
Yeah.
Like, they put Deadpool in that Ultimate Spider-Man show that was, like, years ago, and they still pulled it off really well because, like, he was still his Deadpool self, and he's, like, in the Lego games, and now he's in Fortnite, which is insane.
Yeah. So,
like, Deadpool can definitely be a character. Like, he can censor himself and everything, and I think it would work really well.
I honestly forgot about that Once Upon a Time in Deadpool or whatever.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that?
No, but I actually heard it wasn't too bad. Like, it's because it seemed like an entirely different. Well, it keeps the plot points of Deadpool too, but like, I mean, it's like Princess Bride. I may go like find that movie and like see if I can buy it or watch it or something. I was thinking
about that too. I'm like, maybe I should have checked that out.
Yeah, because I remember like it was essentially them testing to see if like PG-13 would work. I'm gonna go find that, and I want to watch that, and I want to see if it actually works, and if it does, then I think they could achieve.
Please do.
Yeah. Well, whenever I'm not sick and I'm going to get in my hazmat suit and walk to Best Buy.
First order of business, which is never going to happen again. You need to replace Spider-Man 4. Speaking of Spider-Man PS4.
Spider-Man 4? Spider-Man 4?
I'm delusional.
Oh, man, that's the best news. I'm just kidding. No, continue.
Spider-Man PS4. Oh, so okay. I think like Sony announced that they're going to have some announcements for their PS5 tomorrow, at 9 a.m. Pretty exciting. I know you're more of an Xbox guy, but I
honestly lately I have been very equal. Like right now, like I've told you before, I'm playing through the Uncharted games.
Oh, true.
By the way, there was a while back we were going to talk about that movie. That movie is also cursed, and it's really weird, and I don't know what's going to go on with that movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, so like. And honestly, Nathan Drake is like is my favorite video game character of all time, and like that is a PlayStation exclusive game.
Yeah.
And lately, because I've been on such a big single player kick, PlayStation has better single player games. Like it's just how it is. You can play all the third party games on there, and you can also play their first party games, which are just better. Granted, Halo will always beat like all of those because it's so like timeless to me.
Yeah.
God, I miss those times.
Me too.
I wish you had an Xbox One so we could play like Halo 3 on Master Chief Collection.
I kind of do. I could borrow it if I need to.
You could sneak it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just lately I've been very console neutral. Like Xbox is definitely my home to like where most of my games and stuff lie, and like all my friends.
Yeah.
But like, dude, getting a PlayStation back when Spider-Man came out has been a fantastic investment.
So at the end of the year, or whenever you have the money to make the console jump, you're probably going to go with Xbox first, though, right?
Yes.
Is it friends related, or is it?
Yeah, because most of my profile, like my gamer score, all of my games and everything is on Xbox. Like if the game is on Xbox, I will get it on there.
Yeah.
That's essentially my rule. But I mean, if it's an exclusive to PlayStation, then obviously I get it on there. Like I don't think I have any third-party games on my PlayStation. Granted, the thing that's gonna suck is whenever Spider-Man comes out, like I'm not gonna be able to play the next Spider-Man on PS4 unless it's on both.
Hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I bought this console for Spider-Man. Like that was the reason why I got my
Which
my
is
PS4.
different though, because you're like years removed from the next gen. Release. You have. The prices are so much different from when it first releases.
Yeah, I mean, well, I got the limited edition Spider-Man one.
Oh, yeah.
And so that one was roughly $300-400 because it was a PS4 Pro.
Yeah.
And that was honestly like a birthday gift of 2 years because the year before that I didn't get really anything.
Yeah.
So it was definitely worth the price of it. And now I'm like, well, if there's going to be a Spider-Man game every console generation, I'm like, this is going to suck because I'm going to have to get every single console.
Well, maybe they make it for the PS4 as well. Granted, it won't be as good looking.
Obviously, but I mean, I'll take what I can get. I have a PS4 Pro, which I'm sure can run it pretty well.
Yeah.
And then inevitably, if, my PS4 decided to crap out, I could transition to the next one. I just hope, well, I know with the Xbox Series X, Xbox, please step up your naming for your consoles. I just don't like you were on a streak with like Xbox and then the Xbox 360.
Yeah. And
then like they went Xbox One and now the Xbox One X and now the Xbox Series X. I'm like, what are these? What, like PlayStation's like PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3. Get ready for it. PlayStation 4. Like, I'm like, and Xbox is like all over the place. Like, get some better titles. They should have just done Xbox 720.
I was always an Xbox person until I got the PlayStation 4 for Spider-Man. Then I was like, oh wow, like there is a difference in terms of like exclusive games, and the thing that always got me to Xbox was always Halo. Yep. And that's taken a dip lately.
Yeah. Well, Halo Infinite comes out this year, which is insane.
Does it come out this year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
See, that's what really tears me apart is like I could get the Xbox when it comes out and get Halo. And
well, Halo is also going to be on the Xbox One.
It's just not the same to me. I don't know.
Well, Infinite, so there's been a lot of like merchandising and stuff coming out. We've totally derailed, but like it's whatever, man. Quarantine.
Yeah.
If any Halo people out there, you'll get it. But they put out a lot of like merchandising, and there's been a lot of teases and stuff. And this Halo Infinite looks like a total course correction because as a huge Halo fan, I love Halo 1, 2, 3, Reach, ODST. Like those are like that's my library of like Halo games.
Yeah.
And then 4 came out, and like I enjoyed the story of 4, but what bothered me about Halo 4 was that I didn't like the visual style. It felt too sci-fi. Like it didn't feel like that classic Halo kind of.
It was a little
almost
gritty,
like old school. Like, it was like it felt like Mass Effect or like Star Trek.
Yeah.
Like it felt like it would have fit in that universe. It's a lot more technical, and it's just visual style. It had a great story, I thought. But like I didn't like the Prometheans and all of this stuff. It was weird. Then Halo 5 came along, and here's what I'll say about Halo 5. I love the gameplay of Halo 5. I love the armor abilities and all that. Like I think it fits
Feels
for
more
Halo.
Classic Halo.
It does, yeah. It's a lot more classic in terms of its shooting and its maneuverability, and even sprint feels right. It still feels like Halo, but again, that visual style was super weird, and it just like they're continuing that whole like weird sci-fi look. I don't like the way like the Covenant looked and all that. It just felt like such a jarring gap from
and
like
the story was awful.
The story's horrible. Like they hyped that story up so much.
Do you remember the little
like,
podcast episodes that would come out before?
Yes, Hunt the Truth.
Yes, dude. What happened with that?
Exactly, and there was like, remember the trailers, the live action trailers, where they had like the reverse one, where it's like Chief underneath the statue.
You're like,
and
wow, there's
underneath.
2 sides to this story, and like, who's actually the bad guy in this?
It was literally like Halo Civil War. Like,
yes.
And it was like, oh, okay, this is gonna be so cool. And then like the third mission, they fight, and then it's like, all right.
Yeah, they punch each other a couple times. And it was like, that's it.
It's so dumb. But now there's been some merchandising and stuff that comes out with Infinite. So obviously they're back on a Halo ring now. The armor style is like it's like a combination of Halo 3 and Halo Reach. Yeah, which I love. I'm like, okay, because I'm a big Reach guy, but I know that was a little bit like after you. So it's people always argue like their big Halo game was either like 2, 3, or Reach. Mm-hmm. Most people's is 3, and I love Halo 3. Like that's pretty much tied with Reach for me. But Reach I played like I feel like a lot more of.
I thought Reach was fun. The story was amazing. One of the best.
Story is great. Absolutely. I don't know if you know this, but actually ODST is my favorite Halo game.
Yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah, I love that story. Like it's just such a different. It feels kind of like a Halo, or like ODST, a Halo story kind of thing, where it's like a different genre, but it still is in the Halo universe. And obviously, it was made by Bungie, so it still like retains that Halo feel.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, now with all of this stuff coming out for Infinite, like there's a lot of like leaked toys coming out that's like the kind of the armor sets for Infinite. And I mean, they've pretty much shown nothing of this game,
Yeah.
which comes out this year, which is like insane. And now that E3 has been canceled, I'm curious to see what they're going to do with all of these press conferences that were going to happen. I imagine they're just going to do an online presentation.
Yeah.
Which to me doesn't matter as much because I've always watched it from home.
Same.
But still, it sucks for the people that like it is a yearly tradition for them.
My favorite thing about E3 is that because anybody can show a game and do like a press conference online, and you're like, oh wow, that's cool. But my favorite thing is when you get the fans up there asking questions, and they're like hard pressed questions where they actually have to provide an answer to kind of hold some accountability. That's my favorite thing about E3 is you kind of get more answers, and I feel like if the developers are more in like a controlled environment, you're not necessarily going to get those answers to questions. But
I miss the times, so like when I was in middle school and early high school, E3 week was like, I mean, it was pretty much like this. Like I locked myself in my house and I would just watch the stream. So I would watch the press conferences, and then even after like the press conference days, I would watch all of like the demos that they would take to like the stage shows. So like whether that be IGN or GameSpot or whatever. And so like I remember the days of like Assassin's Creed and Halo, like I would just sit there and I would watch every single little detail about these games.
Yeah.
And now it's just like I watch the press conferences and cool, I'm done. Like, which I kind of miss that stuff, but yeah, I'm hoping Halo Infinite is like really good.
Yeah,
and maybe it'll be like a proper return to form. The only thing that could make it perfect for me is if they get Marty O'Donnell, the guy who did the soundtracks for like all of the original Halo games, if they got him to come back. But I don't know if they're going to do that. Because Bungie obviously they don't work on Halo anymore.
Yeah, my thing is like I need multiplayer to be done right.
Oh yeah,
I agree that the competitive balance of Halo 5 was a little bit better, and the gameplay was a little bit better too.
If they
Actually,
just like
it was a lot better
visually,
than 4.
if they just like reskinned Halo 5,
Yeah.
like I would have been like, okay, yeah, I like this.
The problem with Halo 5, where it lost me, was that it relied heavily on the community at launch to kind of support that game, because at launch it was bare bones. It was like,
oh yeah,
they had your 4 or 5, they had your Slayer, Team Slayer, the new game mode Breakout, and they didn't even have
totally screwed over.
Yeah, they didn't have Big Team Battle, they didn't have Infection, they didn't have like all the classic games.
Which they eventually did, and also the biggest thing was for me, which I tried to like, and I got to the point where I'm like, I'm never playing this ever again. Yeah, Warzone.
Yeah.
F that.
That's where the microtransactions come into play.
Yep. When that first came out, I was like, oh, Warzone's really cool. It's like Battlefield meets Halo. And then the more I played it, I was like, dude, this is so stupid. Like, once somebody gets like a really overpowered ship or vehicle or weapon, like you're just done.
It's all about microtransactions with that, I swear.
Yeah, it was so big, and I was like, I'm going back to Arena, and so I would go on Slayer, and I'm like I can just destroy guys on there.
Yep.
And as soon as you hop into Warzone, it's like, oh, here's a guy with an energy sword that he can lunge at you from 100 yards away. I'm like, what?
And they had like these ridiculous weapons where it's like, one-shot sniper rifles and like rocket launchers that would like lock on to vehicles a million miles away.
There was like mantises, like the mech thing.
Yeah.
Which they were like, they had like triple speed and like infinite rockets and crap. I'm like,
armor
what?
Was ridiculously. And
I'm like that's the worst thing. The armor customization in Halo 5. We've gone on this entire rant about Halo, by the way, which I love. This. You know, yeah. This is. I feel like we haven't talked about this. The worst thing was like the armor customization. Yeah. First of all of the armor sets, like only like 25% of them even looked good, and the worst thing was like all you could customize was the helmet and the body, and that was it.
Yep.
It was like, here's your entire, like, your arms, your legs, your torso, everything. Then here's your helmet. Whereas all of the previous Halo games that had customization was like left shoulder, right shoulder.
Reach had it the best.
Reach had the best customization. And I'm like, I really hope they bring like a form of like Halo 3 and Reach's customization into Infinite, where it's like you can unlock certain ones by like doing obviously like achievements and things.
You would put so much work into making your guy strictly about you and your identity.
I miss, like, I would go into Infection and, like, you just
Look
had
at
all of these
everybody's-
different like all of these different Spartans with their different color palettes and everything. Like, it reminded me of, like, the ending mission, which was called Lone Wolf, and, like, you go and you find all of these, like, dead Spartans, and they're just kind of like these really cool, unique Spartans. And that was also another cool thing, was in the single player, like, your Noble Six was yours. Because I remember the first time I booted up the game, and I had that recon helmet, and I turned on the game, and he's looking at his helmet, and he flips it around, and I was like, whoa, that's my helmet. What? And then he puts it on, and I was like, oh my god, okay. I'm like, I get to fully be this guy. Like, it's not like Master Chief where I'm playing a character, and it's just like, I'm a sucker for stuff like that.
Yeah, I think one of the things that, like, really drawn me to like Halo 3 was the competitiveness of the community. Like, I tweeted out, there used to be like half a million players worldwide that would play Halo 3 at one time. It was
the biggest game. Like, it was like Halo 3, Modern Warfare 2, and all of that stuff. Like, those were like the biggest games for its time.
Dude, so I remember, like, jumping into custom games with people and, like, checking out
remember,
like different maps. Remember
Jenga.
Sand Trap? Like,
Yeah, dude,
and how
Sand
they
Trap.
made like the best Infection maps on there.
Oh yeah, I remember like the mongoose races that you could play with people.
Dude.
Like Fat Kid, remember that?
Yeah,
game mode?
dude. It's like when you kind of like got bored of being competitive and like hopping in like Team Slayer and stuff.
Yeah.
You would then go play custom games, and you'd be up to like 4 a.m. laughing.
Yeah, dude, you're up with like people like you have not met until like a couple of hours ago, and you already feel like you have lifelong connections with them.
That's what's so different is, like, I remember being on Halo 3 and I'd start a match, and then I remember just being like, hey, to whoever I was teammates with.
Yeah.
And then somebody would plug in their microphone, and then you just end up talking and making friends with people.
Dude,
now, like, I play like online games now, and I immediately, like, even if I have no one to talk to, I make a party by myself, so that way I don't have to talk to anybody.
Exactly. That was like the best. Like, Halo, I felt was like definitely the most positive community, but the part of me also misses like that Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, and Black Ops time where you would go and search and destroy, and you're just talking so much crap to people.
It was so wild.
Like, people would get so triggered. Like, I've done that in the new Modern Warfare. Like, people will go on there, and immediately my friends and I had a full team of 6. We went on Search and Destroy, and we went into game chat. Within seconds, we're like just tearing these dudes to shreds. Like, we're just like insulting each other's moms, and like it's just, and like nobody. Well, usually
you need that when you're a
kid,
kid, though. It toughens you up.
Dude, yeah. I got bullied so much on Xbox.
Same.
Eventually, it got to the point where I was like, cool.
Yeah.
It's like, God, I miss those like heavily community-based times of like online multiplayer.
Maybe Halo Infinite will kind of bring it back around. I hope it brings back a lot of the old fans.
I really hope
that were
so.
lost. Because like Halo 5 almost did that for me. Because I played that game for about a solid year.
Mm-hmm.
I remember like every because they did like monthly updates to the game.
Halo 5, you said?
Yeah, Halo 5.
Yeah.
They would do like free deals. It's technically stuff that should have been in the game to begin with, but it'd be like free DLC every month.
Right.
And I remember like waking up that morning and like updating my game, being so excited for like, they finally got big team battle, and like, you know, they added what was it, like Forge World. And
I will say there is one really cool thing about Halo 5 now, which I don't know how important it is, and I think it's also in Master Chief Collection, which is like really thriving right now.
Yeah.
But Halo 5 eventually introduced this really cool thing where you could do custom games after they did Forge and all this stuff. And some of the Forge game modes on Halo 5, like, they are insane what people can do. Like, if you thought the Halo 3 stuff, like, and Halo Reach stuff was crazy, Halo 5 goes, you can turn it into a completely different game.
We should really just jump back on Halo 5.
Honestly, I'm down. I have to reinstall it, but I'm down.
I'll get it. It's like, what, $20 now?
I have Game Pass. Oh, I think you can get it for you could probably get it for 10.
Oh yeah.
It's super cheap. But they have this essentially, and we'll wrap it up here in just a second. This always happens. Like, I'm actually surprised that I've retained talking this much, because
I'm happy
earlier
you're still alive.
I'm actually it's kind of distracting, which is really good,
Yeah.
like from my like raging headache. Anyway, Halo 5, they introduced this matchmaking for custom games where you could go and you could find like people in all of these different game modes, and you could just jump in and play matchmaking for
that's
custom
awesome.
games. Yeah, and it was so cool. Like you would just go in there and be like, yeah, I want to play Michael Myers. And there would be it'd be like an infection game mode, and it's like this haunted house where you could like break down the walls and stuff and like hide in corners. It was so cool. So 343 did a good job in terms of like the technical aspects, and I'm just hoping that that'll transition over really well into Infinite. And I think they've put a lot of those features in Master Chief Collection. I know a lot of people, there was a thing that they had a day where you could upload all of your old files from Halo 3, like the original Halo 3, and port them over to Master Chief Collection. And so like there was a day where you could just transfer all of them, and everybody got their game modes and their maps back.
That's
fun times.
That actually is cool. The only like one thing that I would like for like matchmaking, I wish they would bring back that 1 through 50 ranking system, just because I love the competitiveness to that. And I remember working so hard to get my level 50 general in Halo 3. Yeah. And the satisfying feeling that I got from finally getting that. And
a lot of games don't, well, certain games do have that competitive, like, I mean, I think the biggest ones are like Siege and like Overwatch and stuff, that they have like those, those ranked or competitive game modes. But for me, like, I was never really into that. Like, I was just like the casual stuff, and so like Reach for me was like a really big one, because I was like, I can just jump into anything and like level up.
Reach basically only took social from, because like Halo 3, what was cool about it was like that you had your competitive, which was like your normal matchmaking. I forget what they called it. Ranked. They called it ranked, and then you had ranked social. So if you wanted to just do something for fun and earn your XP, you got social matchmaking that you could do.
And it wouldn't affect your competitive like ranking or whatnot.
That's what I loved about it. It was like you had the decision to decide, do I want something that's more like laid back and chill, or do I want to like hop in, or maybe I warm up a little bit in social and then I jump into rank with my squad or whatever. That's what I really liked, and that's what they kind of went away from. And that I think that's really where they lost me, because I was so competitive and wanted to get my rank up, and I worked so hard.
I never
knew
you were such like a competitively like based person.
Oh my god, dude! Like, I think it's like a mixture of like growing up on sports, and then like Halo 3 really sparked that for me.
Right.
And it got to the point where like I would get to my level 50, and then I would like make a brand new like Xbox Live account to try to do it over again on Halo 3.
That's insane.
I miss it.
I think I always just sucked too bad to be good at like the ranked competitive stuff. But I remember when Halo 5 came out, like when the beta came out, I got so competitive, and like to this day, people like, so I don't play with vibration on my controller. Yeah. And which is like, oh, okay, cool. You're like me.
Yeah. It's too distracting.
Yeah. All my friends, they're always like, why do you not play with vibration? It's so much more immersive. And I'm like, ever since Halo, I researched and saw that like a lot of the competitive esports are like MLG. God, remember MLG?
Throwback.
Like MLG Pro. Yeah. They didn't play with vibration. They would play like on a certain sensitivity, and like they had no vibration, and that's why I turned it off. And it like the first week I was like, this is horrible. I hate this. And then like as soon as I got into like where there was no vibration, I was like, anytime I go to like a friend's house, they're like, yeah, here's the controller, and I'm like, oh god, what is this? Like it's so
it's jarring.
Exactly, it's jarring. But anyway, we probably should wrap it up.
Yeah, if you guys stuck out through our Halo 3 conversation that lasted 20 minutes, we appreciate you guys.
Totally unexpected, but I'm so happy we did it. Like,
probably nobody plays Halo anymore. We're just being nostalgic about it, but yeah,
that's what we do in quarantine.
Yeah, I mean, got to do what we got to do. Like I said before, we kind of teased it earlier, we're gonna have a new episode out actually at the end of the week, probably on Friday.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one.
If Grayson isn't dead by then, so
I'm doing better.
Knock on wood. Yeah. Yeah, that one's gonna be good. I don't think we're gonna tease the topic yet.
No, it'll be another one of our fun ones though.
Yeah, it's just a fun episode, not news related.
Yeah, we just kind of want to keep people like not suffering, And honestly, we want to do something productive during this time. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a win-win.
Yeah.
I see this as an absolute win. You know?
That's awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at comicblast_. Our personal accounts are linked to both of those. And you can find all the links to anything that you need in the description below from wherever you're listening, whether it's iTunes or Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube. You can find all of our information down there. Other than that, anything else that I need to add, Grayson?